welcome. It's a little bit earlier than normal and scheduled, and I've got my mate next to me all the way over from Madeira. So obviously, he looks like he's sunny it up. Great smile, continuing on from the weekend's win. But before we start the show, I've got to say
It's never
thank you very
shifted.
much.
Never shifted.
Can't fault you. Thank you so much to Trolls, who's gifted a membership straight away, and that's gone to the Toon Piper. So welcome on board, Toon Piper. You are an NTTV Plus member, and so you've got all access, all areas. Please, 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 if you enjoy the show, continue if you can to maintain your membership. It just helps us go further. And before we get into me and him, I suppose we better do the housework. So again, welcome to everybody across all of the platforms. Thanks to all the people working behind the scenes, do all the great work for us to continue with the show. Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoy the show. It just helps us get further as a channel to other supporters. Subscribe, it's totally free. Hit the bell for future content, 7 days a week, more or less live. Some days we obviously do the pre-recorded stuff as well. And if you want to help us grow, you can become a member for a small fee. There's different levels to choose from regarding the content that you want to watch. Don't forget to have a look at our webpage as well, NUFC Talk.tv for news and content. Totally ad-free, done for the love of the club. So again, as soon as we get it from a decent source, we'll put it on there. If you've got any questions for me or Win, put a Q in front of it. It's not guaranteed. But if you want to guarantee it, then you can use the $sign, throw us a super chats, and that message will be read out. And anybody has just seen any new members or any of our lovely members that gift will be highlighted and thanked as we go along the show. So, he's just gone offline. There you go. All the way from Madeira, and we've lost him right at the start. And we've been chatting in the back, in the green room, for the last 15 minutes, talking about the weekend. He's got emotional again. I mean, he's just absolutely loving it at the minute. But today, what we thought we'd do, obviously, there's still a lot of questions out there regarding the. Oh, he's back. Here he is.
Wait, what happened there?
What did I say to you? As soon as we start the show, you'll disappear. Are you back with us now? Can you hear us okay?
I can hear you perfectly.
Fabulous. There you go. So yeah, it's. I was just saying about. We're gonna look into the new stadium. What's been publicly known now for a while. Obviously, we've got some pictures. We've got the discussion from Craig Hope of what he's put in the mail. And obviously, we've got two sides of the coin here, because I've always been one for the bigger stadium, and you've always been adamant of 65 is the top line for yourself.
I don't necessarily think it's the top line, but I think at 65, let's prove that we can fill 65 every game, because that's the model.
Yeah, well, I'm not disagreeing with that. It was
I think the plan should definitely incorporate potential expansion, and I'm pretty sure they will. I don't think the PIF are stupid, so I think they will incorporate plans for expansion. But let's see how we get on at 65. I would say.
Yeah, and like I say, I mean, I am not in any way, shape, or form saying that shouldn't be the model to go on. As we've seen, typical Newcastle support down at London, over 100,000 celebrating the cup win in London. So, do these figures? And I said, like I say, I've got no factual figures. It's only hearsay regarding the amount that was down there.
The numbers are often
exaggerated to a degree, and I can appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, there was 32,000 in Wembley.
Yeah,
and I've got no doubt at all that there were considerably more than 32,000 in London, because, for example, there'd be loads of husbands down there who took their wife with them, but obviously the wife wouldn't be in the stadium, so you can't double that amount. But,
no.
But and kids as well, of course. So Yeah,
Oh, we've
I think
lost him.
100,000 is probably pushing it by because they're all just estimates.
Yeah, they are. They are. I
You've
totally
lost
agree.
us.
No, you froze just for a split second, but you're back now.
All right.
That's not a problem. Um,
Okay.
I mean, I understand that, and that is exactly the thought process that I had when I saw the numbers. Over 100,000. But you're absolutely right. It'll be family, extended family, just going for the day in London, maybe for the weekend, and having a bit of them time, if you like. And for me, though, the way I look at this is the fact that we are gaining support. You know what I mean? This isn't something that's going to go away now, right? So I'm looking at, are the club looking at the here and now, or are they looking at something where they can future proof? Now, I know, well, I say I know. For me, the next the next best thing along, which would probably cover majority, would be a 70,000 stadium. And what you get there is more of you're going to get a lot more or a lot of emphasis on people like myself who probably will never get a season ticket again because of the amount that want season tickets, but it'll give me more chance in the ballot. That's what I'm saying. Now, if we're looking at the numbers that are in the ballot week in, week out, and that's been all season long,
Yeah.
of,
Well, it's been since the takeover, to be fair.
well, since the takeover, absolutely. But I mean, it's grown, and that's what you can see now, especially certain games. I'm not saying all the games are neck deep, but there's certainly a lot of games out there now. When you look at the numbers in the ballots, even 70,000 is going to push it. And I know, like I say, your emphasis is more, let's fill every seat for 65 because one empty seat breaks the business model. You've been a massive advocate on that. And we were discussing and again, you come up with a really good point about the corporate side. So tell me what you think about what
Well,
potentially could happen regarding the corporate
they're
side.
saying that the corporate side, uh, they're saying 65,000, but I'm pretty certain that 65,000 will incorporate at least a doubling of the corporate. What the business model requires, if we are going to generate anywhere near the income of our rivals and therefore be able to compete with them in the transfer market and paying wages and all the rest of it, we've got to generate the money. And it's all very well saying we'll get these benefactor sponsors coming in from all over the place in Saudi Arabia. But do you really want to be reliant on what would effectively be unsustainable sponsorship money were PIF ever to pull the plug?
Well,
And
and I think that's the thing,
and
isn't it?
that's what PSR is all about. And that's why I'm not too averse to the system whereby you've got to prove that your sponsorship is fair market value, which is the associated party transactions bit of the rule that's currently being challenged by Manchester City. If we can get, let's say, Google, who are, let's talk about Google sponsoring Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. If we can get a massive multinational non-Arabian sponsor to come on board for big bucks, that's when we know we've really hit the big time. As long as we are relying on Saudi sponsors, Saudi Telecom, Salah, etc., there's always a worry that if they pull out, that sponsorship is not going to be sustainable. And if, for example, we've got a sponsorship deal for 5 years which has come to the end of its tenure. And on the back of that sponsorship, we've put players on, mega salaries because that sponsorship money enables us to do that. And then suddenly we haven't got those sponsors. We're going to be in a position where we've got to sell all our prize assets. And we don't want to be in that situation. Now, I honestly believe that, and I think that we've broken the dam on Sunday there. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that is now the springboard to take us where we really thought we were going to be going when PIF took over. And once we do that, and once we're regular Champions League participants and proven worldwide, because it's a world, it's world. You need worldwide sponsors to
But that's why they're looking to go into
generate the sort of money
Far East,
that
isn't
we're
it,
looking at
next year? Well, at the start of pre-season.
Well, that's
because they're trying to push.
We've done,
you know what I mean? We've done Australia. We've done America.
Well, Australia for me was a funny one.
Yeah.
Because Australia population's only 18 million, something like that. It was kind of weird because there's not a massive market over in Australia. Whereas if they'd gone to Korea or Japan, well, we've been to Japan, of course.
Yeah,
now.
of course, yeah.
And the Middle East, of course, because we are gonna get, I would say because of the PIF connection, the Saudi Arabia, we're going to get, massive, proportionately massive interest in the tune over there in the Middle East. But to get into Africa, where the big populations are, and the Far East, China even, that's where we need to be setting our stall out. And I'm pretty sure, listen, PIF are not dummies. I'm not the cleverest bloke in the world by a long shot, but I think they've probably got blokes there that are cleverer than me. And they'll know all of this. And that brings us back to what they also know now, which is they've seen in the last, going on 12, it's not even 12 months now, 9 months, how much money 3,000 people can spend. I'm referring to the stack here. How much money 3,000 people can spend during a match, and they look at the revenue per head in the stack, and compare it to the revenue per head in the stadium, and those 3,000 people are spending nearly as much as 50,000 people in the stadium. The 2,000 exception being the corporate. And so that's why I think the 65,000 seater stadium will incorporate at least a doubling. And I think that's currently, I think, 1,200 corporate on a match day. And if they can double that, and that could, by the time they spend all that money there, because they are always there, it's sort of every time I've ever been lucky enough to get invited over there, it's been, if it opens at 1 o'clock, you want to be there at 1 o'clock.
Absolutely.
To make sure you get all the benefits of your host. And so, and then so they are not just paying for seat tickets, they are paying for food, for drink, for everything, and everybody takes advantage of it, of course.
Well, of course. But I mean, you said
so you're looking at probably an average spend there of about. Go on.
Well, no, you were saying before when we were in the green room about they probably make something like 2 million just from the corporate what we have now because of what they spend. Because we often look at this match day revenue increase, and there's been questions from a lot of the pros out there, these top notch accountants, the Maguires and the like, that say they don't know where that revenue's come from or how it has jumped, and maybe it is from the corporate. maybe the fact that they've increased the corporate to a little bit more than
Well,
price-wise, I don't know.
the corporate prices have gone up a lot more than Joe Public's price.
Yeah, exactly. But
But
there's
that's
been
the
some
other
good
thing.
shouts.
Bear in mind, this new stadium. If everybody thinks that getting 65,000 is going to mean a reduction in season ticket prices, forget that. By the way,
Yeah, it's probably going to be an increase, I would have thought.
because it's going to be an increase for
Yeah, absolutely.
everybody.
Yeah, yeah. A
And
couple
as
of
I say,
things.
I don't give a toss. I feel desperately sorry for those that can't afford it. Of course I do. But if we want to be in the big league, we've got to generate the money to pay for it somewhere. Now,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think the big what would really set the Premiership alight for me would be taking all the TV rights off Sky and everybody else, and,
Yeah, you
and
said that, yeah.
doing their own TV.
Yeah.
If the Premier League did Premier League TV, PLTV, they would generate 3 times as much,
Yeah, yeah.
and then you could do something. I think about the ticket prices. Although who's not to say that it would all just go to the players and they just get even more, bigger and bigger salaries?
Yeah, yeah. I've
And
started
who's to
some in
say
the
that's
chat.
wrong?
I've started some in the chat, so I'm just going to go through these quickly. There's Tony's done one here about sports washing, and obviously I don't want to get into political stuff, but I think that could be a show on its own, Tony. So maybe we won't go on that one today because we want to keep it direct to the stadium, and there's something else at the end that I want to just hit on. But that one is something that I think we can go to and do a full show on. So bear with us on that one, Tony. Two kind of phrase: basic economics. Keep demand high and limit capacity to charge higher corporate prices. Virtually what you're saying, and like I
Absolutely.
suppose that does. It's a model that works. We've seen it work because that's virtually what's in place now. Geordie Dan, we literally took over London. Everywhere you went were mags. I saw one group of Scousers before the Sunday. Lol. And all
Well,
of the photographic evidence that I've seen, there were very little red shirts floating in and around London, small pockets, but it was the black and white army that were, absolutely engulfed in certain areas, especially around Covent Garden. It was phenomenal scenes, and I don't know whether it was true or not, or whether somebody's just put a spam out there. But somebody is in one of the hotels in Covent Garden, and they were photographing or the scenes underneath, and there were a lot of people, obviously all waving, and it just looked a mass of bodies from what you can see. So you can imagine what this on the 29th, what it's going to be like in Newcastle. And I
it's
think
going to be fun.
Geordie
I
Dan
thought I was
says
going to
this.
miss it. I thought it was this Saturday, and I'm still here this Saturday.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
But
No, it's the
apparently it's
29th, dude.
excellent.
So you'll be back
That's
home.
the best news I've had today.
And the other news is Geordie Dan's just put in there that it could be, or there's talk about it being a big thing happening on the town mall. So let's see what happens from there. Andy Turnbull has put down just wait another couple of weeks. A big announcement due on the 11th, though due to the parade, they may pull it forward. All the stuff is ready. We'll be bubbling for months with this. So,
Oh,
I am
Andrew,
I'm in
I am
baited.
intrigued.
I'm gonna say that's I've got like what's going on here, Andy? Now the hairs on the back of my neck have stood up. So yeah, thanks for that, mate. I'll look forward to that on the 11th of April, if not sooner, when they do the parade. Kevin Ball, it's both. It's short-term need and long-term planning. The Saudis leave nothing to chance or off the table. Everything will be very carefully considered with all options covered. You see, what I don't want, what I don't want to see is, I mean, I've said it from day one. The last thing I want is interruption. We've heard of all the other clubs wishing they'd got this, that, and the other, and Man U now saying that they want this 100,000 stadium, state of the art thing, and that's what I don't want us to be doing something and then regretting it. So whatever they choose to do, And like I say, I'm sure there's been lots of representation from the fans, and I'm sure they've done the due diligence down to the final hair to get the numbers right. But what I don't want, Win, and this is what cripples me, is where we are now, with loads of people wanting to get there, loads of people interested, because surely, what I see with the likes of Newcastle now, and I said this on Sunday after the game, and then Monday when we did the post match, is the fact that I really feel happy for the supporters of today, because what they get, and it was the same in the 90s, wasn't it, when we were flying high under Keegan? The supporters of the 90s, stayed with Newcastle. They didn't go chasing the glory from the big six clubs because we had success. And when you've got success, you breed supporters. And it doesn't have to be, and I know, like I said, there's a couple of lads, trolls, as said alike in the comments that I'll come across in a second. It's not just in Newcastle. It's like myself, I've not been in Newcastle now for 40 odd years. But it's still my heart. I still have that bubble, that butterflies in my stomach every time I go north of Scotch Corner, because I feel as though I'm going yem. You know what I mean? So it's like Gannon yem. So for me, it's always going to be the promised land, and I cannot wait. And like I said, yes, I'm bothered because I want to have the opportunity to come up most weekends and watch the football, and obviously go around the tune with you guys and feel as though I'm part of Newcastle again, because I miss it every single day. And the opportunity for the club to become the bigger number is by giving the people, the likes of myself, the likes of Trolls, who's from afar, the likes of even Chris flying across more often, because he's going to be more guaranteed of tickets. But again, I do feel as though if they go to 65, they are missing an opportunity. That's how I feel.
As
Ian
I say,
said,
again, I'm almost certain that any plans for the stadium will incorporate potential expansion.
yeah.
I think that they're just being very cautious, as they tend to be, and that's it. Let's see how we get on with the 65,000, and then take it from there.
Yeah. Andy's coming here with, you're going to hear wonderful things like apron to armchair in 15 minutes in the near future. There's an expectation of up to 20,000 corporate seats. Wow. What? That's crazy.
20,000.
20,000.
Well, you say I'd be upset if it was 20,000 corporate seats. I mean, we need the revenue. I don't think they could sell 20,000 corporate seats, because the money just isn't here for people to pay that.
That's some numbers, isn't it?
The 20,000 is you're looking at, if you're talking about I'm not talking about padded seats like the Platinum Club. I'm talking about the corporate, where they have the dining facilities and the waitress service and the whole shebang, which you're talking near enough
stuff, isn't it?
Without the drinks that you obviously have on the day, just for the food and the seat and your place in the whether it be in the Moncur suite or the Robson suite, whatever.
Yeah.
And of course there'll be more boxes. Yeah, of course there'll be more boxes. There'll be boxes all the way around, I would suspect.
Yeah, but do they place that like as they used to between the two tiers? You know what I mean? To build on, type of thing.
Well, I would think there'll be a tier of boxes going all the way around.
That's what I said. Yeah.
With probably a couple of tiers on the main stand side, where they've got the infrastructure behind that to service it, because it's a mammoth operation.
Oh, it's absolutely
a match day.
Absolutely.
People have got no idea the personnel that are involved in whatnot. Because we used to take all the staff home, and on a match night, not on a Saturday because public transport's still on, but on a midweek night game, we had 60 taxis working non-stop from about 11:15 till 2 o'clock in the morning, picking up staff. From there,
it's crazy.
To all corners of the northeast.
Yeah, Ian's put a point here about, like, obviously don't forget the thousands of fans who were on Tyneside on Sunday in the stack van zones. Every pub was full, fans in their arms like ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously.
But that was for a cup. That was for a cup.
That's
final.
what I'm saying. It's like that for every cup game, isn't it? Fans don't always get the opportunity to get tickets for Wembley, and like I say, we saw what was in London that hadn't got tickets. It doesn't have to be obviously just going to the stadium. So, Darren Lee, shouldn't we be aiming for a 70,000 seater stadium? Well, that's my idea. But like Wynne says, one empty seat and you've lost the business model, which is what Darren Eales has stated all along.
If you've got
this troll saying, like, obviously, don't forget
the business model goes to pot.
Us who don't live in England. But I appreciate that, and I want to say more about this. But what Newcastle can't afford to do, trolls, is rely on people like yourself flying week in, week out to get to Newcastle, because we know that just doesn't happen. But that doesn't stop or doesn't stop them trying to incorporate more overseas.
What they've
support.
done, just a very small step, but baby steps. Every journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and all that. They've appointed this season for the first time. They've appointed an international fans liaison officer.
Yeah,
and they've begun as if you ever tune into the Extra Time show that the lads in America do, they are telling us that you can now apply to be an official Newcastle United overseas supporters club, and in order to do that, you've got to have a guaranteed number of supporters. You've got to have elected. It has to be elected, and you've got to prove that they have been elected. The secretary and treasurer of your supporters organisation, wherever it may be, and if you can fulfil all of those obligations, then you have access to the international liaison officer. And I'm pretty sure that there will be an amount of tickets available for all of them. And I would think it'll probably work something like, if I was doing the model, it would be like there would have to be, let's say, if you wanted to book 6 tickets for a particular match, there would have to be 2 corporate, and then they would give you 4 normal stadium, Joe Soap stadium tickets.
Yeah.
Because again, it's pointless having overseas fans if you're not generating any money from them.
Yeah, exactly.
And putting the effort into having them.
It's
all about the great God is money. It's as simple as that. And the sooner people accept that, the better. And if we want to be playing up there with the big boys, then we've got to get the money from somewhere. And
Andy
television. Go on.
Look at this one. Here's a funny fact, and I learnt this from the model. We can earn more money from a car parks per week than standard season ticket holders. And I've said all along what they're going to do with St James's Park when this proposed stadium
that doesn't
gets
surprise
going.
me.
Exactly.
Well, that's why.
Especially if they do a multi-story and some type of hotel.
I was surprised that the super business model for me would in fact be an out of town stadium with conference facilities. They could build a training ground. You know, they could build
All
like
linked together.
a multi-billion-pound complex with
Yeah.
with links to the metro, and their own car park and their own fan parks where they are making, and so they are like the Stack. They are selling the franchises.
Yeah.
They are making, for example, at the Stack now, they know that they can go to all the stall holders in the Stack now because they know what the revenues are for every one of them.
Yeah.
Because that's part of the deal as well. And they can say, right, we know how much I'm making. Next season, your rent is going up to X, Y, Z. And they can just keep on upping those prices. And
Because
eventually, the market will decide.
yeah. Yeah, there's
Because
got to be a
obviously,
ceiling on it, isn't there?
if they are paying higher rents, then they've got to put their prices up. And then if they put their prices up, people will stop going.
That's right.
And that's what I say about the stadium. With the increased stadium, you can guarantee there'll be far better fans facilities within the stadium. I'm talking about for everybody.
Yeah.
And to me, the club have always been missing a trick by not having much better facilities on the concourses for watching telly. And on that telly, on a match day, you can then show, you know, matches, past matches against whoever you're playing on that day and all that, and that would encourage people to go to the stadium at whatever 12 o'clock. Put me in charge. I'll have that stadium full by at 12. I'll have that stadium full by 12 o'clock, and everybody would be in having a fantastic time. And not only that, they'd stay after the match and watch reruns and interviews and analysis. Put us out of a job, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But
The Geordie Dan says need to be at least 70k. I'm hoping for the hierarchy to see the arguments for more seats. Plus, nothing has been officially confirmed yet. Maybe the cup changes things.
the cup
Uh,
changes everything.
Absolutely, because well, it's not only yeah, exactly. But you did see Al Rayman, put his finger up, one of many to come.
Yeah.
We are there now, and this comes on to what I read this morning, and that's why I want to leave it till the end because I was a bit perplexed by it, to be fair. But like I say, that's for another time. So again, that's just a few that's out there in the chatter zone. And I say there's loads of you guys trying to get through. Like I say, can't read them all, but like I say, I've tried to highlight a couple that were points of view towards what we were talking about. But if you, Garen, want to guarantee it, like I say, the super chat is available. So let's
We've
go
got
on
our
to
we've got our ITK here, Andrew Turnbull again, to
yeah.
reply to a thing that Chris put in. Let's just say this: Newcastle's biggest transfer. It's all set. Planning permission, finance, utilities, contractors, the lot. We're just waiting for the PIF.
Yeah. Well, that's what part of this next bit is because obviously this is again not come from us. This is all from the Mail, and I suppose what you've got to look at from this point of view is obviously this is where the proposed site is going to be. So when they start building, it doesn't have any effect whatsoever on our stadium. Um, so obviously, when we talk about the 28 internationals that were obviously there, doesn't affect it now because obviously we thought it was going to attach to the back end of the stadium. So again, they can get on with it willy nilly. But while I've got this up on the screen, so let's look at what was talked about from obviously again. I'm not saying it's anything to do with us. This is what's come from the Mail. Newcastle to build a 65,000 capacity super stadium and leave St James's Park after 133 years. All the bombshell details of the stunning plans, including the new sites where teams will play whilst it's built, and key features poached from Wembley. We reveal all the huge details and seismic shift in the club's history in their 133-year stay at St James's Park is set to come to an end. And then it goes on to say about, like, obviously, um, the clubs are preparing to take their intentions to the government for a sign off on the project, which will create hundreds of jobs and pour money into the local economy. Now, again, going on to what you were saying about keeping, taking it out to the city centre. Obviously, the demand has always been to keep it central, because they don't want to lose emphasis from from where it is. We know it's been a monumental state, standalone. When you come into Newcastle, you can see it from miles around. Hence, the cathedral on the hill came to got where the name come from. But I mean, for me, like you said, if they wanted to make money, and if these were looking to be just business driven, then they would have taken it away from the city centre, wouldn't they? They would have moved it away where you could have all these attached bits and pieces, the fan zones, the eateries, and everything else, hotels, the training ground, all incorporated in one area. But obviously, what they've tried to do is still think about what is happening now. The other thing that was really interesting was, obviously, the expectation of Downing Street officials will give the green light for the Newcastle press ahead in their ambitious development and will assist them in cutting through the red tape. Um, I didn't, for me, there's obviously been lots of talks and lots of bits and pieces gone through this regarding whether we can go ahead on Leazes Park, and obviously we go back to Tyneside Life, Eddie, who categorically said there is no way that Newcastle will build here. Doesn't seem to
Exactly.
be the way now, does it? Especially with the Downing Street officials getting
Well,
involved.
I tried to get him on the show to. I tried to get Eddie on the show to debate that issue with him, but he politely declined.
Declined. Yeah.
Yeah, because I just said, like I said, my stance from the get go, from Newcastle's point of view, would have been right. This is what's going to happen, right? You're either going to give us permission to develop, to massively expand St James's, which is going to encroach on Leazes Park and even potentially Leazes Terrace, which
Yeah,
this
yeah.
which this actually leaves alone, or we're moving out of town. And I tell you what, if Newcastle moved out of town, it would decimate the city centre, because
Eh,
there's so many businesses which totally, absolutely, totally rely on match day revenue.
yeah, totally agree. And
They
I
would
think that's
just
where the
go, and
muscle is, isn't it?
thousands of jobs. And if they said, right, we're moving out to Woolsington, go push your barrow. If you're not going to give what we want, we're going to Woolsington
Yeah.
and bye city centre.
Exactly, and I think, like I say, that's where the muscle is, isn't it? Because they know with the owners that they've got the money to go and the land, to be fair,
Yeah,
to actually just go and do that. And I think that's the beauty of it. Obviously, the club's alternative option was to redevelop St James's Park, has been shelved for now, and we can reveal that the plot for the new stadium will retain its city centre location in Leazes Park. So again, a lot of the red tape seems to have been got through anyway. But there's obviously still one or two points that they need to go to Downing Street and get the final say. The proposed site will not overlap St James's Park, meaning the team can continue to play there in their full capacity while the new home is built. The club have played on that site for 133 years. The club Saudi owners were presented with the plans during the board summit at Mafton Hall last month, and crucially, Chairman Yasser Al Rumayyan is said to be fully behind the project. So there's been a lot of talk about what we're going to do and everything else, and where we're going to, potentially be, and the type of grounds that they're looking at. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of talk about the bubble wrap type of exterior, akin to the Alliance Arena at Bayern Munich, which seems to be on. Well, it seems to be what's out there at the minute. I saw they did the one in America, didn't they?
the
trying to
Las
think of this.
Vegas,
The
the
Las
last,
Vegas place. Yeah, what was
yeah,
that
yeah,
one called? I'm trying to think of the
the,
name of the stadium. It's gone out of my
uh,
head now. But obviously,
I can't
they're
think, but
trying to look at that type of style of
I
stadium
prefer that. I prefer that actually to the
to this one.
Alliance.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying the interior isn't going to be of a similar ilk, and that's what I said. I think they've looked at the likes of Wembley and how Wembley's seated, and it'll be an amalgamation of multiple stadiums rather than. I think this is just going to be the exterior, because obviously they can change the colour to whatever suits them on the day.
Mm.
Um,
I think we can rest assured it's going to be the best stadium in the world.
oh, absolutely. I mean, like I say, the chances of something happening to this stadium.
With how we're leading up to it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy, isn't it? Just going to transition that across because, like for me, we're talking about stadiums now, and you've got to look at what can be developed now where it's not impacting on the ground anymore. We said if it's attached to the ground, coming from Leazes Park, then there's going to be some disruption, isn't there? And there's going to be somebody who's not going to be getting a seat, or
Well, I think that's even if it was my seat, that would be a minor worry for me. That you know, better
yeah,
things are around the
yeah, I agree. I mean, like I
corner.
say, I've just put up on the screen there the what's potentially going to be coming our way, and it is a phenomenal stadium. I mean, like I say, you can again, it's about that cathedral on the hill, that statement, isn't it? And obviously that's why they're looking at something like this, something that can be lit from afar, seen from afar, and obviously still have that name, the tag, if you like, of being, like I say, prominent from outside the city centre. Because there's a lot of stadiums within the city centre you don't actually see until you're at the ground. I don't know, especially in and around London, or even Manchester. The big stadiums in Manchester, you can see Old Trafford from afar. I mean, you can see Aston Villa off the motorway. If you're looking in the right direction, Villa Park. But I mean, with this, especially with it being lit up on the evening games, I think that is going to be a statement on its own. And like you say, one of, if not the best stadium in the world. So let's go on. I think we've just lost Win a second there. So let's go on to see what he goes on to say. And again, this is nothing to do with this is all from the Mail. The Chief Operating Officer, Brad Miller, and Chief Executive Darren Hills recommended that the new build was the best way to maximise revenue and achieve the club's goals, currently limited by the Premier League's profit sustainability rules. The next step is more talks with local authorities, governments before sign-off from Saudi Public Investment Fund, the club's majority owners. Once they know the project is feasible, the decision will be finalised and communicated to supporters. The exact cost of the build and nature of the funding is still unknown, but it's huge development on the eve of the Carabao Cup final, because obviously this come out just before the Cup final, is the biggest indicator yet of PIF's commitment to the club. Stadium designs seen by executives are said to be stunning. They have a bubble wrap type exterior and a Parkland style approach that will be Newcastle's equivalent to Wembley Way. And again, this is what I said about them pulling parts of certain stadiums and amalgamating them all to be a one-off. London architects KSS and Tyneside-based Ryder have provided some of the drawings. The most notable stadium in the world, football with a wrap design, is Bayern Munich's Allianz Arena, which is on your screens now. It was originally thought that Newcastle Chiefs would push for a capacity close to 70,000. However, Eels has always guarded against going to a number that would see some seats remain unsold, even just the one game in a season. I can't see it. And again, I just don't see why we cannot sell 70,000 seats. Am I just thinking outside the box here? Uh, or are other people in the same situation? I mean, listen, let's just put a little bit of a halt on this. While we've got 150 people watching, let me know now. Out of you 150 people, who would go? Who would be who would want to go to Newcastle? Out of the guys that are watching now, would you all want to go? Or am I just talking about myself here? Because we're looking at 150 seats being sold here, and these are people that aren't involved in season tickets. These are the guys that are just waiting to get a chance to get into the ground. Because I know for a fact, I mean, Broski's saying, why don't they just build 120,000 and try to break a record? I mean, that's probably pushing like a loaded car up a hill, if I'm honest with you. I mean, if you're not going to get 70,000, I can't see us getting 120. I mean, I'd love it, don't get me wrong, to have that castle on the hill. That would be fantastic. Brant's saying he's got to get to St James's. Yeah, mate, it's one of those memories that'll never go away.
Am I back?
Yeah, you are back, buddy. That is not true, Rog, because obviously Wembley doesn't hold anywhere near 100,000. But you've got the likes of Man U.
I don't know where people get this rule that
it was a rule originally. It was a rule originally back in the good old days,
but it's definitely not now.
No, it's not now. But yeah, I think when the original Wembley was put up, there was a rule back then to say that no ground can max out more seats.
Let's have a proper statistician on the go here, because being very specific, 72 to 78,000, please.
Yeah, well, again, like I said, from the numbers that I saw down,
from the Toon.
Yeah, from the numbers that I saw down in London, from the numbers that we hear, and like I say, we reach quite a lot of fans now, and we seem to have more fans, especially on this platform, wanting to go to the games that can't get into the games than we do people actually getting to games week in, week out. So
the question is, though, Gary, would they all buy season tickets? Could they all afford season tickets? Because that's what the club cannot rely on people turning up on a match by match basis. Yeah. To plan their revenues, they've got to have season tickets. They've got to have the money in the bank.
And that's what I'm saying. It's got it. This is where, like when we were talking about trolls, the guys overseas, it's not guaranteed week in, week out revenue, is it? Because, like I say, we don't know what happens tomorrow for people to come to the matches. Now, the way I look at it is, why couldn't there be a pocket of so many seats? And even now, like I say, don't get me wrong, we know what the touting industry is, and that's what annoys me, is the fact that these seats are sold to touts for a good price, and it's like, obviously, people that aren't going to the ground anymore. I've had a couple of seats this season where I've paid for extra to get to the game. I've obviously got through the ballot a couple of times as well. But if I'm willing to travel, and that's what I'm saying, it's a just under 4-hour drive for me. I'd be up there week in, week out if I had a season ticket. Now, I know, obviously, there's people with season tickets that don't bother going because it doesn't, with their careers or whatever, same as mine. When I had my season ticket, I had to make a choice during the Ashley years. Was it worth me keeping hold of my season ticket because of work? It wasn't. It wasn't viable. And I, unselfishly back then, thought somebody else could have this seat and go to the games that I can't, and I'm holding back on that seat. And that's that empty seat that you're on about. Even though it's been paid for, it's still an empty seat. So we lose a voice. And that's how I look at it. If you've got 100 empty seats within a ground, it's not just the revenue you lose the atmosphere, because people, I know it takes more than 100 people to obviously sing, but I don't want to lose the character of the place if we move. I want to continue.
The intensity of the crowd.
Absolutely.
To match the intensity on the pitch.
And that's what he said. Hells has just said exactly what I'm thinking. A lot of people now pay direct debits monthly rather than pay it out yearly. So, you could pay off over the season for your season ticket. You don't have to pay it out. So it is still affordable for people to get to. And that's what I said. For me, I think that extra 5,000 tickets that could be sold is revenue that the Newcastle will miss if they don't look at going a bit further ahead.
Waldo's making a good point there. Out of the 10,000 of, he's saying 10, but he means the 10,000. Out of the 10,000 of us who boycotted during the all the kids, hats off to every single one of them who boycotted to get Ashley out.
Yeah.
And there's only 2,000 of them, they reckon, who've got. I tell you what would be it would be an exercise we might think about doing if we could, if I can work the logistics out. If we could find out how many people could provide documentary evidence that there were season tickets, for a number of years.
Yeah.
Prior to Ashley, and form an organisation of those people who now can't go, with some hope of getting in touch with the club when the expansion comes, and making sure that if somebody who'd been a season ticket holder for, whatever, it depends on ages of people, of course, but if somebody had been a season ticket holder since they were 20, let's say, for 10 years, till they eventually got sick of Ashley.
Yeah.
They should be at the top of the queue. They should be at the front of the queue
to get these seats.
To get the seats that are now coming, which will hopefully become available.
Yeah, exactly.
With the expansion. And I think it will be a very, very valid exercise that to try and collate all of that information, find out who these people are, make sure that nobody's just saying, yes, I am. It would all have to be checked and double checked. And really, you would need the club's cooperation to do that.
Yeah.
And just do it on the basis that, if they can prove that a season ticket for 20 years prior to, let's say, 2017, but that was the cut-off for me, was 2017 when we got promoted again, and he said Benitez would have everything we generated to spend, which was well publicised as 69 million.
Yeah.
And not only did he not give him a penny, but he sold players.
Sold players, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know we keep going on about Ashley, and like I say, the one thing you've got to give him credit for, he didn't leave us in the mire. And it wouldn't matter with these current owners anyway, to be fair. But he did leave a steady ship, and it was his way of doing business, wasn't it? He did buy.
He was a businessman.
Absolutely. And you know what? The one thing that really cripples us, and it's got nothing to do with what he did regarding buying and selling players, it's what he did commercially. It's the commercial shit that we struggle with now.
That's right.
Because he screwed us over with the
sponsorship.
Yeah, exactly.
With the sponsorship.
Now that's what we are we finding difficult these days with the PSR regime. Jay from the Turns, again, forgive me, Jay, because I'm rubbish with names, but it's not a name I've seen before. So if you are new, welcome. We are now a global brand. Our owners and management must introduce innovative price plans as well as season tickets, so we can fill every seat, which we will. I agree with you. I think if they go to 70,000 and do, like I say, we know it goes up in price regarding the way you seats. I mean, you've got a great seat halfway line, and I know as the further and the higher you go, the worse you get. And I mean, it's really funny because I don't know. I'm sure everybody's watched all of the videos that Alan Shearer celebrating, but when you look at where Alan Shearer was standing in Wembley, you could hardly see the pitch. And he's right at the back because obviously that's where everybody else was standing. So even at the big grounds, you're not always guaranteed a perfect view, are you, of any match? So pricing has to be done right to fill these grounds. But that's the same with any stadium. You go to the new camp, you know what I mean? I've been to New Camp, been watch a game there, and you go to the top tiers, and if you suffer with vertigo, God help you. You got me, because they just look like ants running down. You can't recognise anybody in a shirt down the bottom. It's ridiculous. So, like I say, it depends on how it's going to be built. Because, like I say, at the end of the day, if you are going to the games, you want to witness an event, don't you?
Well, as well, hopefully we'll have jumbotron screens and you name it, a la USA.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's another thing. I think having just the one screen, and when I was at the Forest game and we were
Well,
looking at some of the
that's very
VARs,
few. That's half
you
the
can't
crowd
see it,
can't
can
see
you?
it. No.
No, exactly. You can't. I mean, I was trying to stretch my neck to see what was going on and couldn't see it. So I'm hoping that does get better in this new stadium. Um,
Yeah.
It goes on to say he was chief executive of the MLS franchise Atlanta United when they limited the capacity of soccer matches to maintain demand, despite playing in the 75,000 seat Mercedes-Benz Stadium, also home to the NFL's Atlanta Falcons. An increase of around 13,000 seats from the 52,300 that's at St James's Park will go a long way to satisfying the current demand for tickets. So what they're looking at here is obviously where there's 13,000 people, obviously, that have approached the club for season tickets. So if that's the case, and this is the way I look, somebody like myself who has put myself forward for a season ticket, and I was told by the club that there is no way of putting you on the list anymore because the demand is already there. So if that's what they're saying is there's 13,000, surely if people like myself get in touch with the club and say, I'm looking for a season ticket and the demand is there to increase this number, would they look at it differently then?
It's all very well. I'm not saying for 1 second that if they rang you up tomorrow and said there's a season ticket there, do you want it, that you wouldn't say yes.
Absolutely.
But having your name on a waiting list
Yeah.
does not necessarily guarantee that you're going to have the wherewithal to fulfil that
Well, we don't know
transaction.
how long this list has been going on, this 13,000, because some people pass away, some people obviously, their lifestyle
Yeah.
changes, lose their jobs, things like that. So
Well,
they may not be able
if
to
you
afford
if you remember, I can't remember what the figure was now, but I did the sums, didn't I? There's
it.
365 days in a year. The average age of dying is, let's say, 70. Pick a random number.
Yeah.
And you say, right, so that means, and I did the statistical calculation, and it means that every year there's like 5,000 people
Mm.
out of the ground who are moving off this mortal coil.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, obviously that's that's to me, it looks very much like it's going to be the number that they're going to go with, isn't it? 65,000 seems to be everywhere now. And it seems like I say, wherever they've got these numbers from. I mean, Jay from the Tune again just come in here with let more fans enjoy the club, please. All those on the 29th and only 65,000 capacity. Sorry, no. Let's do better now. We are a global brand. Let's embrace change with success. And I totally agree because the club it's a huge club, Newcastle. We've been in the doldrums, we've been in the shadows for years. Let's make a statement. Let's build a stadium and make a statement. That's how I look at it, And like I say, fans like myself that were massive followers for years lose the interest, if you like, because of work and other commitments, family commitments. Stop going. Literally, stop looking at football. I lost interest in football, full stop, because if I wasn't going to watch my own team, I wasn't going to follow any bugger else. Put it that way. So Chris in America, he'd buy a season tickets, and he'd give it away to the local Geordies if he wasn't there. And I know when I spoke to Super Fan Dan, and you were talking about the overseas groups. I mean, I know Super Fan Dan was developing something or was being part of one of these overseas members groups to do this regarding tickets. So there's the way I look at it, there is lots of scope to have the new ground filled to 70,000, just from those things. And I think I agree with what you're saying about the business model, and I agree with what Darren Hill says about one empty seat or one unsold seat is a failed model. But I just find 65,000 is too little, and I don't want us to then look back in 10 years' time and say, you know what, we should have done a 70,000 seater, or then they have to look at the ground and redo it because they just didn't do their due diligence properly at the start. And that's how I look at it. And every bubble can burst, we know that. I mean, you've only got to look at Man U now, and look at their decline over the last 10 plus years. You don't always ride the crest of the wave. And I also see that point. And like I said with yourself, fans are fickle, especially young uns. But if they're going to a club with the parents, with the grandparents, like I did, and the love of the club is there, and it's under your skin, we've not had success in 70 years. We have now tasted that, but I've never ever whined. I have never ever looked. I went to work for a few years at a local club. I watched their games because I was there working, but it doesn't mean I supported them. You know what I mean? And I think that's, for me, whenever I was busy on a Saturday at the other club, I would always look at my phone, if I had the phone, and say, how's Newcastle doing? Yeah, but it was always, oh shit. but I mean, you know what I mean. It was always
not now, not now,
not now, exactly. So yeah, I mean, like I say,
the monkey is off our backs.
Absolutely. For me, I would definitely go with the 70,000. I know Win is obviously saying he'd stick with the 65, and let's see what happens. But at the end of the day, guys, like Win's just said, we are going forward. We are growing as a club, as a global experience. And the more of you guys that, like myself, can't get in, the more we knock on the door, the opportunity will also, I'm hoping for some of us, will arise. So let's keep going. Just moving on to the next little bit of business, I suppose. Like I say, we've virtually done that over and over again. And like I say, until we're here, and I can't wait for this announcement that's going to be made on April the 11th. Now it's really wet.
Andrew is
wet my whistle for that one, Andrew. And then it says here, this is Andy's last comment. You don't just have to build it; you have to all the safety certificates. That's where Spurs tripped up. It took them 18 months to get that. That's why they had to stay in Wembley longer. So, there's lots of red tape still to go through. I understand that, and it could be another 2 or 3 years before the brick starts getting laid. But it is what it is. Going on to the next project or the next topic, let's say we'll briefly look at this. John Barnes has made a statement. I don't know. This was in the mag, and he was commentating after NUFC outclassed his beloved Liverpool, even though he actually played for Newcastle as well. Eddie Howe delivered the first domestic trophy for Newcastle United in 70 years, the first silverware of a kind in 56. Whilst if Newcastle win their game in hand in the Champions League qualification rivals and match at home to Crystal Palace, that would put them fourth in the Premier League. Yet for John Barnes, the important point he wanted to bring up was that Eddie Howe could be sacked by Newcastle at the end of this season. He was talking to Poker Scout about Eddie Howe and Newcastle United after Sunday's trophy win at Wembley, and he goes on to say, the best teams and players make winning a habit. You have to be consistent if you want to be a top player or a top club, which is, I think that's common knowledge. Whereas if a player thinks we've won a trophy, I can relax now, they're just going to be there for the rest on the laurels and lose every game between now and the end of season and think that's okay because they've won a trophy. What big players and champions do is recognise they've won when continue to give 100% and forget about it. And then, of course, at the end of the season or at the end of your career, you may look back and say, well, you've won. But some people want to win the trophy in March and then forget the rest of the season. If Eddie is going to lose every game between now and the end of the season, I think he'd get the sack. I don't think he'd be happy if that happened just because he won a trophy. Now, I look at that and I think to myself, we said the other day when we were doing the post match, and we said, like, the one godsend about winning this trophy now is Europe's guaranteed, right? Yes, it's only the conference, but Europe is guaranteed, and the players can relax. And I don't mean relax in they don't care. I don't mean relax in, it's a case of we've done the business now. We are legends of the club. We're going to be down in history, blah, blah, blah. What I mean is they can relax in the fact that it's guaranteed to play in Europe. Doesn't mean they can relax and not win a game. I mean, for me, I cannot see Eddie Howe being as due diligent as he is, ever allowing the players to do that either. Do you?
No, not a chance. He's talking through his arse. Let's just if he was to lose every match from now to the end of the season, I tell you what, if Arnie Slot was to lose every match till the end of the season, he'd be for the
He'd be
job.
one, absolutely.
They've already got the knives out for him now. You've got all the tigers in the in the Liverpool fan channels, and that they're all saying, I said, it was the team he inherited, and da da. Because he's lost 2 games,
Well, he's
albeit
lost. He's out of 3 competitions, isn't he?
2 very important games.
Yeah.
And of course, he lost it against Plymouth as well.
Exactly. And I think that's what hurts them now is the fact that they were on for the quad, and then obviously on for the triple, and then now it was a double. Now it's just the Premier League.
Now it's a Premier League. And by the way, we are still on for the double because Mr. John Barnes, if we win every match till the end of the season, we'll be right up your backside.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really funny. Like when I read that this morning, I thought I've got to approach that in today's subject. It's crazy, isn't it?
Unbelievable.
It was just the fact that, like, when you look at, and again, I'm not one of these guys that listens to any punditry, because I honest to God agree with what a lot of the fans say. I mean, even in the chat now, it's crap because they're so biased towards their own clubs. They don't look at any other club, and I'm sure as fans they can say the same about us when we talk about the game. We don't actually talk about the opposition much. Well, we are always going to be a channel that encourages opposite fans to come on board. What's this one?
We technically won the Cellar Cup, so we have already done the double. Well done, Aaron.
Yeah, I love it. But I mean, there's lots of people now that say, and again, I've had lots of jibing going on my phone. It's only the Carabao Cup, and it is only the Carabao Cup.
It is absolutely.
That's what I said. We've got to get excited because of what we've never won for years, but we're only halfway through the job, and that's what I said. We can relax because of Europe's already there, guaranteed, but we can't relax that much that the rest of the season doesn't matter.
And I don't think they will. I think this. Honestly, I can just see this is like rocket fuel to those kids now.
Yeah.
And especially because bear in mind they won't pull that shirt on again until after the parade. Yeah. So they are going to see then what it means.
Yeah, Simon's made an absolutely superb point, and I think this is what people forget, isn't it? When we look at
absolutely
what we had to win to get
what
there.
We had to do what we had to do to win it, beat the top 4.
Yeah, exactly, and that takes some doing regardless of where you are. And I think that this is what annoys me with pundits. They don't mention any of this. Newcastle just didn't go out there and play
wasn't given to them
championship
on a
side.
plate.
Yeah, and win it. Like, you know, a lot of teams would, like I say, put their second or third string team out there, and then if they go out, they've always got an excuse of the reasons why they went out. You know, we had to play all of the top four to get to that final and win it, and that to me speaks volumes for the mentality. And as daft as it looks, the hardest game was Forest. Longstaff's penalty was the most important goal, if you want to look at it, in the shootout, because without that goal, we wouldn't have got here. So it becomes, you know, paramount now. I mean, all of the goals. I'm not just singling out Longstaff, but when he took that final penalty under pressure, it now signifies
But that's the
history,
one.
doesn't it?
And there again, for all of the Eddie doubters,
Yeah.
it was Eddie that picked Longstaff to go and take that final penalty at Forest.
Yeah.
Now, can you imagine the flack that he would have got?
Yeah, the pressure on his shoulders, mate, was
And
ridiculous.
don't forget the pressure was on Sean, but the pressure was also on Eddie Howe then, because he would have been castigated for putting Longstaff up for that penalty if he'd missed it.
Yeah.
And similarly, on Saturday, and I was one of them who thought the Dubs should have been in goal. Look at that save that Pope made. Would Dubs have made it? I'm not saying Dubs wouldn't have made it.
No, but it was stunning.
But Pope did make it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I said. You know, he's there to fall on his sword and that's what we could. You know, we often, not to say doubt him, because he's the man at the now with the knowledge. But obviously, we've criticised his decisions in the past. But like I said, you know, it's been his decisions that have got us to fourth. It's been his decisions that's got us to seventh. Win a trophy. We're now in Europe again. So
Wembley twice.
3 out of his 4 seasons, I mean, he's only 3.5 seasons, really, haven't been bad during his tenure. So, you know, he can't be a bad coach, can he?
Phenomenal. Well, lucky to have him.
Oh, I totally agree. Waldo here has put down that Barnes' words seem to be a bit twisted there by the mag. He questioned the overall mentality of our team due to our form. Before the final, we have to push hard now to prove pundits wrong. Like I said, I'm only reading what these guys have put, buddy. So again, like all mags, they and all pundits, they probably do twist a little bit of what he said.
Well, it was all in quotes.
It is in quotes, but he said he does go on there and
wouldn't put anything in quotes of it.
No, exactly. It's a feel-good factor that it brings to the city, to the club. If they celebrate too much, they may not win too many matches. But I don't think all of a sudden they're going to be winning the league because they've won the Carabao Cup. Have you heard anything daft? So, you know, it's like, surely they should say that about any manager. If they lose all the matches, they will end up getting a sack. Is anybody who's under pressure? It's Arne Slot, as you've just said. So why isn't John Barnes raising the potential of Liverpool sacking their manager and putting all the emphasis on Eddie Howe getting sacked if he loses all of his? So that's the question. And you've answered.
That's one of the most pleasant things about this weekend for me has been the about turns by the bedwetters. They're all saying, get ready next season now, you know.
Yeah.
Stephen, Roy and Tiger. Trulls was there. Trulls was an Eddie out.
Well, listen, you know, we've said it from day one. Managing, coaching, anything, even wherever industry you're in, you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days.
Of course,
nobody goes to work and is perfect every single day. Because if there is somebody out there that don't ever make a mistake, I'd like to meet you, because, like, you know, for me, it is paramount. You know, and I'll hold my hand up. There's many days I've made mistakes at work. Luckily, they've never hurt anybody, but, you know, there's been days where I've asked, for whatever reason, I haven't had my head switched on. And I'm sure it's exactly the same with Win. I've just been reading Chris's.
It's definitely the same with me.
So you know, I'm just saying it's funny how, like I say, all these pundits seem to just come out of the woodwork and still have a go at Newcastle because of where Newcastle is going. And you
Well,
can
I
see
mean,
the fear of God in most of them.
I'll be perfectly honest. I think that the coverage that we've had this weekend, or about this weekend, has been just a joy to take in. By
Yeah,
and
yeah.
large, there are very, very few negatives coming out. It's just been fantastic, and everybody's been saying, about time, etc., etc. So, all of the what you would expect kind of thing. But no, I think he's very much there's him and Lawrenson basically, who are two staunch Liverpool
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
fans and good on them for being that. But I see no reason why they should take a snipe at Newcastle just because Liverpool are going through a bad patch.
Yeah, but like it's like I said, somebody said to me, I went into a hardware store. I'm not going to mention the names of because there's other reputable hardware stores out there.
Other hardware stores are available,
Yeah, absolutely.
but it was
And
B&Q.
oh, it wasn't. It wasn't. Um, it was Till Station. Anyway, I got my shirt
Have
on.
we, have we got tools? Have you got a tool station in Birmingham? Have you?
Well, I'm not in Birmingham.
Well, where are you? West Midlands.
Yeah, we've got Till Stations all over the place.
Oh, I thought that was an American brand.
It's like bloody Greg's, mate. They're everywhere. It's not just the northeast, Um, so,
No, because we haven't.
what? You've not got a Till Station in Newcastle?
No. I thought it was an American brand.
Oh no, we've had Till Station. Well, I've had one local to me for bloody years. Um,
Mm.
so I went in there and I'd got my shirt on, and the guy that was serving me was a Liverpool fan. And one thing I'm going to say, and I don't say it very often about Liverpool, the fans that I've met, the fans that I've, again, my friends, a couple of friends are fans, couple are my enemies. So I can't wait to gloat when I get to see them next. Yeah, there's plenty of tools in Birmingham. Yeah, exactly. Um, uh, so it's really weird, most of them have been very gracious in defeat.
Yeah,
Most of them have
absolutely.
been nothing but, you know, you know, commending and applauding the win. And you saw that when Chris put that one up, where we had one of our fans who was emotional, very much like yourself, hard to hold it in, and the two Liverpool fans were, patting him on the back and saying, "Well done, mate.
Yeah.
Well done indeed." And I thought that was superb. I
Well,
still can't understand.
the Liverpool, obviously trying to get milk every last second out of it. I've been watching anything that could conceivably be connected with it, and that includes, of course, watching all of the Liverpool YouTube channels.
There
And
you go.
to a
There's
man.
three Till Stations in Newcastle.
Well, I don't know where they are because
There you go.
that's my second hobby is woodwork, and
There you go. One on the Scotswood Road.
well, there's a B&Q on Scotswood Road, but there's no tool station that I'm aware of.
Well,
Anyway,
anyway, I'm going to say, yeah,
we digress.
we absolutely
We
talking about
digress.
tools, and all of a sudden we're into woodwork.
Yeah, but all the Liverpool fans we had, we had on the pre-match preview, we had Callum on from Coppish, so I was watching a lot of their content, and to a man, congratulating Newcastle on outplaying them, outperforming them, and you name it,
Yeah,
superb,
that's what I
all of
said.
them.
The one thing that really disappointed me though, Win, was the fact that they didn't stop and applaud the lads for getting losing medal. The ground, the red end, obviously, I'm talking about, emptied pretty quick at the end of the stage. And I understand there's people going to be upset and not wanting to see it, but even those that are, they've paid that extra bit of money in the corporate seats, all the people that were wearing the red shirts and the scarves. Um, just watch the lads walk past them. They didn't congratulate them. They didn't do anything. And it was all the Newcastle fans that were central. All the Liverpool guys went up. They were all putting their hands out to to try and get a handshake and everything else. And there was a lot of players that that didn't want it. But I did find
every time I've been at there, like I say, 7 times, and every time we've been beaten, we've made just about as much noise.
absolutely,
we've had to wait for all of the shit going on,
yeah.
and
Well,
we've still
2 years ago against Man U, you look at the ground never emptied, mate.
no.
You know what I mean? And that's what I said. I mean, sometimes you have got to look at what it means to people. And like I say, for me, the support for Newcastle, win, lose or draw, has never waned. So anyway, I'm going to have to call it a day because I need to be
Yeah,
somewhere
no
else in a
props,
second.
no props.
So again, thank you everybody, Trolls, for the gifting. Welcome again for the new members that have been involved. Thanks to Chris, obviously doing all the graft in the background as always. And again, like I say, we will probably be back at our usual 2 p.m. slots next Wednesday, and obviously having something to talk about. Not going to do much of the internationals this week, I don't think. But there's obviously lots still going on in and around Newcastle. So again, please hit the bell before we go to obviously get any announcements when we're coming forward. Obviously, Wynn's not back until the weekend. He's sunning himself in Madeira. So, like I say, it will be a good
Celebrations continue.
the celebration continues for another few days. I'm just glad to see him sober. Thanks to everybody again in the chat. It has been a pleasure as always. It's a goodbye from him in Madeira.
And it's a goodbye from him.
Not in Birmingham.
Not in Birmingham.
Not in Birmingham. Anyway, guys.
Goodbye to Barry, not in Birmingham.
Yeah, exactly. Barry from Birmingham. Thanks you all for the great chatting again.
Great chat. Thank you, Andrew Turnbull, for all of your
as always
inside knowledge.
Insider knowledge, exactly.
We hope
I'm not going to call him an ITK at all.
We await these announcements with bated breath. We are as I said, we're intergrued.
Yeah, intergrued. Next time, live from the beach, says Steve. Yeah, I love it. He'll be in his budgie smugglers as well, I would imagine.
I've got them on now.
Oh, I can't fault that. Just don't stand up, please. I've got to go and have some lunch. I will see you on the next one. And it's not a Greg sausage roll.
Ta-da. How are we, lads?
The lassies and bands. See you on the next one. Take care all.
Bye, folks.